Ukraine risks collapse from within if unfavorable peace deal imposed. Former Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba has warned that his country could face civil unrest and even collapse from within if U.S. President-elect Donald Trump changes his aid policy and imposes unfavorable peace terms on Ukraine. Trump's election on November 5th has raised concerns in Kiev that Washington could cut off financial and military support, forcing Ukraine to accept a peace deal that favors Russia. In an article for The Economist, Kuleba stressed that losing U.S. support could change the course of the war and leave Ukraine facing serious domestic problems. Danger of instability if aid is cut. If U.S. financial and military aid ends, Ukraine will face challenges not only on the battlefield, but also from within its own society, Kuleba wrote. He warned that a lack of outside support could weaken Ukraine's position in the conflict with Russia. If the Trump administration imposes a peace deal on unacceptable terms, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky agrees, Ukrainian society could be deeply divided, he said. Such a scenario could lead to civil unrest, allowing Russia to achieve its long-term goal of turning Ukraine into a failed state, Kuleba said. He also warned that the withdrawal of U.S. support from Ukraine could leave the country in a similar situation to Afghanistan after the U.S. withdrew its troops, with serious consequences not only for Ukraine, but also for the European region as a whole. Trump's stance on the war. During the election campaign, Trump repeatedly emphasized that he would seek to quickly end the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. However, he has not yet offered any specific peace terms. Asked in a televised debate with Vice President Kamala Harris whether he wanted Ukraine to win, Trump declined to answer directly, saying only, "I want the war to end." In June, Reuters reported that 2 Trump advisors had revealed a ceasefire plan based on the current front lines. However, his campaign did not provide specific details about the proposal, conflicting views between Kiev and Moscow. The Zelensky administration has repeatedly said that a lasting peace deal can only be based on Ukraine's peace formula, which includes restoring the 1991 borders and ending all Russian occupation. Moscow, however, rejects these conditions and demands that Ukraine abandon its aspirations to join NATO, accept neutrality, and recognize Russian sovereignty over Crimea and other regions annexed through referendums. The confrontation between the two sides became more intense when Russian President Vladimir Putin, in a phone call with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on November 15th, stressed that the war was a consequence of NATO's expansion policy and Russia's disregard for its security concerns. Risk of instability in Ukraine. According to Mr. Kuleba, civil unrest in Ukraine could become serious if Mr. Trump imposes a controversial peace deal. He is concerned that a part of Ukrainian society will strongly oppose any agreement that harms national interests or territorial sovereignty. This could lead to large-scale protests or even internal conflicts, weakening the Zelensky government and the entire state structure. He also believes that Russia will take advantage of the situation to achieve its strategic goals without having to spend more resources on the battlefield. An internally unstable Ukraine would help Moscow consolidate its position and facilitate further moves to expand its influence in the region. Prospects for peace and challenges ahead. In this context, both Russia and Ukraine have incentives to improve their battlefield positions. Before January 20th, 2025, when Trump officially takes office, some analysts say that the change in U.S. policy could create a period of short-term instability. But in the long term, Ukraine still needs international support to maintain its territorial integrity and political stability. Given the current situation, Kiev will have to seek to diversify its sources of support from European allies to reduce its dependence on the U.S. At the same time, Ukraine needs to strengthen internally to avoid the risk of division if it faces external and internal challenges.